with mud. When the rain is pouring down, you can't hold back the flood. Stampede's rolling, stampede's rolling, stampede's rolling, stampede's rolling.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rock and Horror Podcast Show. As always, I'm your host, Rob Nicholson, here in Studio 217 in Hopatcong, New Jersey. Once again, joined by my lovely partner in crime, Gina Bongiorno. How you doing, G?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. We come to you tonight with a little bit of a very special episode. Today on a very special blossom. But no, we come to you tonight with a special episode because Gina and I are doing a little show called Wait Until Dark, which goes up at the Rhino Theater. Gina and I, and listeners of the show know that Gina did act in a prior life, back in high school, and she's always been the audience member or the agent making sure that I am everywhere I need to be. But this time she's actually on stage with me and we actually get to interact for like 3 seconds. It's wonderful. I am so thrilled tonight to welcome a bunch of our fellow castmates into the show. They're all incredible actors, but I'm so happy to welcome them into the show. And they are Nat.
Howdy, howdy.
Howdy, howdy. We've got Noelle. We've got Mark.
Hey.
David.
Hello.
Barnett. And Gianna.
Hi.
Actors are the ones that get in trouble for being late to rehearsal. But we just have a special guest that just popped his head into our recording space.
Oh, I love this.
And that is I see blank space. Hey!
Hey!
Hi, guys.
There you go. Our illustrious director, Randy, has joined us from Parts Unknown. You're lucky this is being recorded so people can see you. Anyway, so we're talking tonight about Wait Until Dark. It was a 1967 film, but it started out as a 1966 play. And I'm going to give a quick synopsis of the play, and then we're going to get right into the meat and potatoes of it. After a flight back home, Sam Hendricks returns with a doll he innocently acquired along the way. As it turns out, the doll is actually stuffed with heroin, or horse, and a group of criminals led by the ruthless Rote has followed Hendricks back to his place to retrieve it. When Hendricks leaves for business, the crooks make their move and find his blind wife, Susie, alone in the apartment. Soon, a life-threatening game begins between Susie and the thugs.
Susie and the thugs.
Susie and the thugs. Doom, doom. See, theater kid, always being theater. So we're going to start off with Randy, being that he just joined us. And Randy, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Thank you.
I'm interested in where your beginnings with this show come from. What you could have done any show in the world. You chose this show. Where did that come from?
Started when I was a kid. My mom, she would take me to all kinds of movies, but she took me to see Wait Until Dark. And towards the end, everybody knows it's not a spoiler alert that she goes around breaking all the light bulbs. So she thinks all the thugs and herself will be on the same level in the dark. But in the theater, prior to that section, they kind of raised the house lights a little bit slowly. No one noticed, I guess, except me, Scorpio. But then when she starts going around breaking all the light bulbs, they started dimming the lights in the theater sequentially, separately. And then it became pitch black. And as a little kid, that really stuck with me, scared me, and stuck with me. And then in high school, we had a scene study class or something, and I was always doing scenes from Wait Until Dark because I was obsessed with it for some reason. And I remember seeing it. It was on TV at probably the 4:30 movie when I was a little bit older, but I had a black and white TV in my bedroom and I watched it in black and white. And if you remember, some of you, the 4:30 movie, they showed the same movie 5 days in a week. So I watched it all 5 days. Then years later, I saw the Marissa Tomei, Quentin Tarantino version of it on Broadway.
Oh.
And then 10 years ago, I directed it at a theater up in Suffern, New York, at the Antrim Theater, if you're familiar with that. And the same thing, I did it in black and white. And the set that I'm looking at right now as your background, it was pretty much that. You know, of course, it was a little different because it was a different stage, but I just love it. And I'm just so blessed that I've got this cast, because nowadays, not to put anybody down, it's just very hard to get actors to make a commitment, you know, and it's maybe because we're a little bit older, except for the Gloria Scary Girls.
My
but
shining twins.
I'm just so pleased with it, and I just hope this week, and I think it will, we'll all pull together.
I agree. I agree.
That's basically my background with that. And there's other shows that I love to do. I directed Dracula a few years back too, and I did the same kind of thing. I set it all to music.
Okay.
Because sometimes, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'm a musical kind of guy, but when I go to a drama, I fall asleep regardless of it. I went to see 12 Angry Jurors or whatever it is now, like probably 5 years ago when it was on Broadway, or more than that. And I fell asleep, and it was an all-star cast, but there's just something about just with no music or sound effects or something to pull the story along. And a lot of people are taken back by it, actors, that you really have to wait for sound cues and look for sound cues and count.
Oh God, all the counting.
All the way to 16.
Yeah. And I know it's not, it's taking people out of their safe place, whatever you want to call it, their comfort zone.
Yeah, but, I think one of the biggest things there is I love immersive theater. Like if I was going as an audience member, it's a really cool thing to experience. I think that people are going to get the same feeling when they come see our show. First of all, it's a black box studio. So the spacing is so much closer. We're literally almost right on top of the audience. And in some cases in the opening scene, we are on top of the audience. I mean, we're right there. So it's funny that you mentioned the background, because before we went on, I was talking to the guys and girls about this picture that I took last night. So obviously, and I don't think we've named the doll, but the doll is sitting there. But
we should name her.
The set was done so fantastically well color-wise that my iPhone 13 Pro Max, Apple, there you go, was fooled. And when I went to go transfer the picture to my Mac Mini, it said it was a digital photo negative and it could not be used on my computer.
Yeah.
And I was
really?
like, it blew me away, because all that is a normal, it's not even a video still, like a 4K still. It's just a photo. So that was really, really neat. And now when I look at it, I see what they kind of meant, because everything else is sort of that monochromatic, thing. It almost looks like something out of a 50s show, like, or Pleasantville, the movie. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. Except for the doll who is there, and she kind of sticks out in a good way.
The doll has a name. It's Creepy Kathy.
Oh, well, there you go. I did not know that.
There we go.
She's our co-star. So
considering that I hold Creepy Kathy quite a bit in my 5 minutes of actual stage time.
Right. I get to hold her for like 2 seconds, and then I don't know where to put her when I walk out of the theater and back out into the to wait for my next scene. So she usually ends up down on the prop table, and I like to get her out of my hands as soon as possible, because dolls creep me out. Getting back to Randy and your vision for Wait Until Dark. One of the things I've said this multiple times to Gina on the way home, is that it's almost like you're making a movie on stage, and it's a completely different perspective to bring to the theater. I saw your
yeah.
other show, which is in Warlocks,
Which Dave was in.
Yeah.
and
Noel.
I was blown away by that. Noelle was there
You
too.
were, I did not know
Yes.
that.
Okay.
She was the creepy girl that came to life.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Ah, it was one of the most fun,
Yeah.
cool, different. Like it was, I loved every second of it. Every second.
And as an actor and a creator, I've worked with so many different directors over the years, and one of the things that I like to see is when something is done that I haven't really done before, because it's challenging to me. It's got to be challenging, and I know because I have seen it in your face as the director. It's got to be challenging when you're working with so many different, like we were using sound from day one. So day one, and I was blown away and kind of confused. I was like, wait a second, why are we in tech week on night one? You hit that ground running from night one. And I just think it's very interesting how you come to that.
Yeah, well, I think it derives from me creating and working with competing color guards. You know that was I guess it was very different because there wasn't vocals, there wasn't dialogue. It was all telling stories through body and spinning flags and equipment and scenery. And I actually did the Salem witch trials back in the early 90s or whenever it was. But it was just all voiceovers, and I told the story from start to finish with, Tituba, the main witch, and all the different personalities of the little girls and how they were accused of being witches, and they eventually were hung at the end when everybody thought they were burned, but they weren't. Not in the United States anyway. That's how I originally blocked the show, was listening to the music. And I just start out. I have this eclectic collection of horror music and thriller movie soundtracks, and I just drive around in my car. It's going to sound weird, but like when I originally did it, I used the same beginning, of Wait Until Dark, and I just drove around for hours playing that over and over and over and over. And it bothered me when I would see Wait Until Dark on stage that they started with the Mike and Carlino scene coming in. And if you miss those few lines about how he acquired the doll, you're kind of in the dark, if you will, So that's why I do that whole, maybe I shouldn't say this, but
no,
we're doing that prequel,
right?
Because I just want the audience to be in on it.
Sure.
That's why the audience sees who's coming in. They're in on it, with that see-through wall upstage.
Right.
So
right.
different approach to it. And in the regular script, Susie just unscrews fuses to leave everybody in the dark.
Right.
Her and Gloria just unscrew fuses, and I'm like, no. So the audience needs to see that, and it's just so much more dramatic. When you saw Audrey Hepburn do that in the movie.
Right.
So I don't even know if it's legal, but I'm hoping that nothing happened last time, so I'm hoping nothing
We're
happens.
just going with it.
We're just going with it.
We're just going with
And
it.
people are going to love the hell out of it.
And what I love about that opening sequence, and yes, I am a part of that opening sequence, and I'm very thankful for that. But I love that it's so like in such a short span of time, we see so much violence and a little bit of horror, and it kind of, it tells the audience, like, this is not going to be like your ordinary boring play. Like, if they are not familiar with the story, like, they kind of know what they're in for. And
even people that are familiar with it, it's going to be
Yeah.
something new for them, I hope.
yeah.
And see, that's cool too. So it's almost like going to a revival or not a remake of a movie or whatever you want to call that. It's sort of like the same exact thing. Like when I go see something, I want to, like, I've seen Les Mis 20 sometimes. I've seen Rent probably closing in on the same amount of times. I like to see something different, but yet still be the same. You know what I mean? So watching different people bring something to life is a very interesting process. The actors in this show, and again, they're here, some of them. I'm missing my wife. My wife is not here with us. She's working. We'll have a separate interview with her, hopefully in the next couple days. Hey guys, it's Rob and I am back. We just finished up our opening weekend and I finally got to get my hands on my stage wife to do this little quick interview. Her name is NJ and she is new to the Rhino Theater, and we met on the read through. She plays Susie, which was played, as we said before, by Audrey Hepburn in the movie. And she is an incredible actress. Very, very glad to have shared the stage with her and looking forward again to another 3 shows this weekend. She is a great talent, and welcome, NJ. How are you?
Hi, I'm okay. How are you doing?
Decompressing from that wild tech week and then the 3 shows that we did this past weekend. So
Yeah, same. It was nice to be able to sleep in and have a breather.
right. I actually
And
said
nurse my wounds, literally my bruises all over from running around, falling, getting, up and down the stair, but yeah, so that I've been, yeah.
The incredible thing that I mean, between you, between Nat, between Mark, Gina, the amount of beatings that you guys took on that stage is just, I mean, you slapped me, and I mean, you've made good contact once or twice, but I mean, it's nothing compared to what you guys have to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I had to feel like signing up for this show. I already knew it was going to be a very physical show. And I'm all for that. Like I was, that's part of also why I wanted to take the part, is I like doing physical stuff like that. And, I in a weird way, I do find that it's fun.
Yeah.
If that's weird, but
So
yeah.
what brought you into Wait Until Dark? So coming into the show, coming into auditions, did you know about Wait Until Dark? Had you seen it before?
Yeah, I knew nothing I mean, I maybe heard about it in like previous conversations I've had with other actors about the show, like, oh, it's about a blind woman who, has to defend her. So just not really knowing what it's about. And I never saw the movie before. And then actually a friend of mine sent me the audition notice, and because she knew I was wanting to get back in a theater after the pandemic, and I wanted to audition for stuff, and she sent it to me. She's like, why don't you go try out for this? And then I looked it up, like what characters were in it, and I tried to do some research, and then that's when I did watch the movie to kind of get a background of what the show is about. And then I saw the movie, and I saw there, as an actor, was so many opportunities with this character to grow and gain something from it and to work on certain skills. And I always want to choose a part that's going to better me and something that'll push me harder. And what's more difficult than playing a blind woman on stage and
Probably
having
nothing.
to be and like trying to make it believable and being emotionally and I was looking for a project that in a weird way I wanted to be like emotional and cry and get other people on my side, and in a weird way just be believably scared and be have someone root for me. And that's what this part kind of is, where it's like it's a roller coaster of up and downs. And this is a very I wanted to play a character that wasn't like me at all, and she's nothing like me, this character.
Right.
Like she's a blind housewife right now, and that's just not, I'm not any of those things, but I wanted to play her, and I wanted to disappear into that type of role and not be recognized and not have any type of NJ around me while I'm at her.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's what all things I was thinking about wanting to, and having this part and working on with it. So,
Now I'm gonna play the trailer, the sizzle reel, as they call it at Rhino, and I want the audience to hear the difference between NJ speaking now and
Oh.
what you just heard, and this woman that she created, just almost night and day. I mean, absolutely night and day. So I'm gonna play that.
Sammy?
There wasn't as much of your voice as I thought in there, but you can definitely
Yeah, but
see.
still it was something.
Yes, you can definitely see the difference in what you do. Now we're on stage in you and I in the second scene of the first act, and then again at the end.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you do during our scene is you knock this pepper. It is pepper. It's not salt.
It's the salt. It's the salt.
Is it the salt?
It is the salt because it's supposed to stand out. I remember him saying against the black floor because he wanted people to see it.
That's right.
Yeah.
So you knock this thing down, and I have to give you directions. And most of the time, during rehearsals, it always fell in the same spot. Now it seems like it falls
somewhat.
Right. Now it seems like it falls in a different spot every single night, which is
that's also hard to do, is to get
Yeah.
it perfectly in the same spot every time. And then
Yep.
the last show we had, it was by the couch, and I guess I overdid it a little, but it's because I also don't want to do it too little where it like doesn't fall off the table. So
Right.
it's just gonna, because that's the point of the scene, is like to be searching for it and stuff. But that was, and even, the other characters having to throw like Gloria throwing the knife and having to get it in that specific area is also another difficult thing to get used to doing.
Right, because
But,
a lot
of
where
throwing
it
stuff.
is. Right. I mean, where it is, obviously, because you can see.
Mhm.
But and that's one of the things that I found intriguing, and I've told you about that during rehearsal process, is that you're still able to make it look like you don't know. I mean, it's acting. I mean, that's what we do, but it is so incredibly difficult. Where everything in that room behind me that you see, where everything sits at any given time, and being able to navigate that without letting the audience know, oh, she knows where that is, or it comes off. I mean, even when I'm standing on stage with you, knowing that you know damn well where the salt shaker is, and me having to change my line every night, that little part there to tell you where something is. And I think I even slipped up in either Tech Week, or it might have even been it was in Tech Week. And I said something like, look down, or something like that. And I was like, nope, she can't do that.
Yeah, like just look over there, and it's like, oh no, I can't look.
So would you say this is the most challenging thing you've done on stage?
I mean, I've had so many different challenges on stage, like different types of challenges, but this part is definitely challenging. Like, my other challenging part I have done was doing a musical and having to sing and dance at the same time. So that was a different type of challenging.
Right.
This one was more challenging with, having to play a blind woman and, having to emote and take away one of your senses and have the other ones visibly shown to be heightened, and, like just wanting to make it as authentic as possible, and trying to unlearn certain natural tendencies you have when like not looking at somebody in a scene was very hard to get used to.
Sure.
Because you're always like, you want to look in their eyes, you want to have that connection with them. And then having to do a scene, and especially some of these intense scenes, and not being able to stare at them or to look intentionally getting used to looking the other way and breaking those types of natural things you have as a person who can see, and using touch a lot and feeling the way around and getting that to be second nature, when even pulling a chair out or traveling across the room or, you know, searching for the light switch. You can't just automatically go there. You have to feel around for it.
Right.
And, you know, because that was another notes that I've been trying to work on for the character. Because if you walk right up to it and touch it, what? Like, how do you know? Even though she knows the apartment so well, it's also like you're not going to hit it spot on every single time. You're going to be in the vicinity of it.
Right.
But, you know, get used to losing that sense and amplifying the other senses that you have.
And like we finish this show and you go and you drive home, you know, which is a considerable distance away from where we are. And I just can't imagine coming off stage as the blind woman and then like going out. I mean, we all went out to eat the other night, and just being able to shut the blind part off. Like I can shut off, you know, I go up on stage as Sam, or I go up on stage as, you know, Smudge or whatever in any show that I'm in. When I walk off stage, I'm not that character anymore and you move on. But because that's only the acting part, you know, I'm just another character. I haven't changed most of the time any of my senses. And that's exactly what you do. So like jumping off there and then going downstairs and changing and getting in your car, you know, with me, I would probably be sitting there and I'd be driving like this, you know, driving with my head to the side or whatever.
But no, I can't do that while driving. Oh
right.
God. But yeah. But like coming off stage and, you know, becoming myself again, I guess. And because, you know, like I said, I don't walk like her. I don't talk like her. I don't have, you know, that disability like her.
Right.
But it is weird. Even in one time when we were downstairs in the green room, you said, NJ, the way you pulled that chair out looked like how a blind person would do it. And I was like, oh, like, I guess it's like it became so natural for me to touch the chair in a certain way and pull it out, because without even looking at it, I remember I was looking away from it and felt the back of it and pulled it out to sit. And I didn't notice till you mentioned it. And I was like, oh, I guess it's rubbing off on me a little bit but that's good that it became so natural.
I think the audience sees that too. They feel it, they understand, and they buy in. And that's the biggest thing that we can do with any audience, is give them that buy-in. They need to be able to buy in, because when they walk into that theater, they need to be swept away for a period of time, you know. So as much release as we get from normal life, going up there and just becoming somebody else for a little bit and forgetting all about the world around us, they need the same thing. And the acting in this show is absolutely, it's incredible. It's, I'll use the theater word, amazing. It's amazing. From top to bottom. I mean, people with small parts, people with big parts, you know, it's an all around effort. So now that we've gotten the first weekend done and we're getting ready for the second weekend, and another non-costume rehearsal tomorrow, except for coats, because certain people like me have to learn how to put on and take off their coats. But what would you say is the most rewarding thing since the beginning? So we started this 4 months ago, you know, rehearsing. You know, we had staggered rehearsals. We had different people rehearsing different scenes at different times, and then we kind of all came together and melded and, you know, put on this amazing show. But what would you say is the most rewarding thing from beginning to end to now?
I mean, I guess the culmination of like putting everything together and, you know, seeing how it turned out. And I mean, I didn't know what to expect of how the final product would be, but I'm honestly very proud of this show and the work that I've put into it and the work that my fellow castmates have done to make it what it is. And, you know, I just like, I'm kind, you know, like I don't even know like how I've done this or whatever is on stage. I'm just like, oh wow, that's really cool. Like I also feel like I've grown a lot from this part. And it's that, like I said before, like I always want to take a part that's gonna push me. Like
Sure.
I don't want to take something just because it's easier. Like, oh, there's one line, I'll do it. I'm always looking for something to better myself as an actor. And I've definitely grew from doing this. And I think that's a big takeaway I have from this is like I'm very proud of what I put out on that stage and was able to the character I was able to create, and and to have people give such positive feedback of that how much they enjoyed it meant so much, because that's like I want people to enjoy what I'm doing up there.
Sure.
And so I would say that.
It's been a big endeavor, bringing this all to be. We've all had life challenges. Obviously I was rehabbing, you were going through some things, other cast members were going through some things. But we were able to just throw ourselves really into this. And I'm amazed because as much as I love acting, I love singing. I love singing more than acting, but one of the big things I hate is conversational script. So I can do monologues all day. Like you give me a paragraph to memorize, I got that paragraph memorized and I'm done. It's the back and forth, especially in our scene too. $20 in this by the phone. I talked to Gloria's mom.
Our scene is one-liners back
Right.
and forth. Like
And
there's no really monologues in there for us.
And that's
I
always
have
been
monologues at other points in the show where it's like there are times where I just don't shut up.
right.
Because I'm going off and I'm trying to figure stuff out. And I have there's the end of act 1. I just talk for the last 2 pages trying to figure stuff out. And the beginning of act 2, I have quite a few monologues where I'm just, having to deliver them out. And just, you're taking the audience on this journey with Susie as she's figuring it out. And they're pulling for her to figure it out.
Yep.
And that's another thing I really liked about, I guess, playing a heroine is that, you want the audience to be rooting for you.
Sure.
And that's pretty cool. Like,
and I remember the, watching from the green room, towards the end of Tech Week, and you with that pillow by the couch and the script behind the pillow, just trying to make sure you had those last, few words down.
Yeah.
And, I remember talking to you and saying, hey, you know what, if you got to write them on the table, write them on the table.
Yeah.
It worked. You know who did that? Courtney Cox and Friends. She had lines written down on the table, so because they were always sitting at the table.
Well, I got it eventually.
Yes, you did. Yep. And
because I
hey,
can't read, I'm blind. Like it can't be looking down.
Exactly.
But yeah,
Exactly.
but I made it work.
You did, and
so.
I think, and again, it's a wordy show, and I think all plays are really wordy. They're more speech than really action, but this has a lot of action too. And it's literally bone chilling. Number one, for me to watch, and I've only watched it like a handful of times fully, but because it's very, very hard for me to watch Gina hanging in the closet.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
and stabbed and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't even like listening to the end before I come up and run into the apartment. I don't even like hearing that because it's blood curdling. You and Gina with your screaming, I swear to God, both of you.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that too, because even like I was worried about like my mom coming to see this show because she's, I've done shows where I've been slapped, dragged, like all that type of dark stuff, and she had trouble seeing it. And I gave her a heads up about this, and I'm so proud of her. She sat through it and she loved it, and she's very proud of, everything. And that also meant a lot to me that she was able to, see it and enjoy it. So
it's always nice when our parents are proud of us.
Yeah, it's cool when, they say, hey, like you really did a great job, and that's really cool and awesome too.
Like I'm pushing 50 and I still like when my dad says, he's proud of me for something. So
Aw,
it is,
yeah,
it's quite nice. I think that just about covers it. I'm glad I
like
got the
the
chance
fighting
to.
and all that.
It's funny. I
All
knew
that
that
stuff.
breaking down the fourth wall. I knew a lot of these answers already because I've kind of, I've gotten to know and become friends with you over the past couple months. And I've asked you some of these questions before. But for me, as an actor, but also as a creator, I like knowing how people come to be involved in something that they get involved in, how they make it work for them, and what their biggest challenges and most rewarding things are. And it's funny because your challenges here in the show were ultimately what brought you that greatest reward. The growth, the seeing just everything unfold, and you become Susie. And you're not Audrey Hepburn. You're not, I forget who played her in the original play, but you're your own version of that character. Even that voice. I mean, the no Gloria. I mean, that,
I was trying so hard to create something and,
Mhm.
Just not be myself. Like I
Yeah.
really didn't. That's what I feel like acting. Like, why would I want to play myself? I want to be another character. I want her
Exactly.
to have her own feelings about
Mhm.
stuff, her own story, her own arc, and bring her to life in that way. The way she stands, the way she speaks, the way, she reacts to things,
Yeah.
and the way she grows on stage herself,
Yeah.
from the beginning to the end. And she's, better for it. She's a different person. She got to defend herself.
Yep.
She got through it.
And she
So,
ultimately became the champion blind woman. So that makes Sam
yeah.
very, very happy. So
Where's the trophy? No, just kidding.
where's my trophy? I can give you a bronze medal. That's about all I can do. All I can do. I'll give you a bronze medal. But anyway, NJ, thank you so much for taking some time out tonight to
Thanks.
talk to me. And I will see you
Yeah, of
soon.
course.
And
Tomorrow
yeah, and you
and
get
this
to slap me.
weekend.
You get
3
to
more
slap me again. Yeah.
performances.
So that's right. We have four more technically to go. 3 real
Yeah.
and one pretend.
Yeah.
But thank you so much again. I will talk to you soon. And now we will go back to the regular show.
Bye. Thank you.
We have the 3 big baddies.
Well, so what I'll say I love about Nat's character, which is, what's the name?
Mike.
Mike. Yes, Mike. I was like, it's not Matthew. It's what I love about your character is you're a thug, but you're kind of a good guy. You're not that thugs are good guys, right? But you're
good thug.
Like that last scene with you and Susie, like you can see, there's redemption. There's a little bit of redemption. You're not as evil. Ro is a terrible evil man. Ro is like the worst of the worst. You guys are not. You're just kind of like, hey, we're trying to make a buck. We're trying to get by. And, Lisa screwed you guys. She wasn't very nice to you, but Ro is like diabolical. So let's talk about that.
Well, and for our horror fans out there, obviously the rock and horror podcast show. So for the horror fans, everybody knows that I am obsessed with Halloween. I love Halloween almost more than any other film series that's out there. And
Team Michael.
One of the cool, actually, she's really Team Lori. But yeah, one of the really Team Lori. See, Team Lori. One of the really cool things about this was in the original play, Mitchell Ryan played Mike Tallman, and Mitchell Ryan is known by a lot of people as Dr. Wynn from Halloween 6. Now he's done so many other things, but for my horror fans out there, Mitchell Ryan played Mike Tallman in the original play in 1966 with Lee Remick. Robert Duvall was Harry Rowe Jr., which is again another huge name. And I didn't know any of the other names, so I won't bring them up. But when I first saw that, and in fact, I posted about it on Facebook, I was like, wow, cool, another Halloween connection. So everything comes back to Halloween. So, but yeah, I want to talk about the baddies, because you guys, the intensity that you all show on stage pretty much throughout the entire show is incredible. And yes, you know, we have our bumbles. That's in my head, that's what I call you, David. And David shook his head even before I started. He's like I don't know, it's almost like the Buddy Hackett, you know, and that's
a little bit of comedy,
right,
relief.
like
Yeah.
he comes in and he's like, it's almost like it's you know, like that's your character, and I
The
love
classic
it.
sidekick.
But you still get angry. You're not a pornographer, whatever the hell the line is. You know, and Nat, you do have there's a gentle, almost like as Sam, like if I was watching in the green room or in the audience as Sam, the husband, I would be like, wait a second. First of all, you guys are trying to convince her that I cheated on her with this other woman or whatever. And now you're kind of sliding in there. So yeah, you know,
I think he has the most complex layered character.
Yes.
Honestly, there's everyone else is pretty singular, but I don't think Mike is. Like, he's very, he to me is one of the most interesting characters in the show.
Your character
sure.
arc is
Yeah.
crazy, and it's an arc without you even knowing it sometimes. Like, it just all of a sudden it's happening, and you can see, you know, especially at the end. And I love the scene, and I really got to see it for the first time the other night. She goes to touch your face, right? Your mic's off, I think. Is it? No, it's not. Okay, you just didn't say words. You mouthed something. This is a show about blind, not deaf.
We'll see.
But yeah, it's almost like there's a great understanding there. And it's a wonderful character arc, and the way that you bring it to the stage is incredible. So thank you.
Thank you.
Tell me about your process. How did you come to, number one, I say our theater because I've been there for so long. So how did you come to Rhino? And what interested you in Wait Until Dark?
I mean, Rhino, this is my first show with Rhino. So I'd wanted to work with Rhino for a while, and I had auditioned for a couple of shows where I wasn't really right for the part, you know, but I like what they were doing. I'd seen a couple of shows and I was like, I really would love to do this. And as far as Wait Until Dark, I had done the show once before and fell in love with it. Just always thought it was just a really impressive story, a lot of emotional range, a lot of things to do with that story. So getting into it, I mean, it just felt like natural. I was like, I really want to do this show. And as far as my process, I mean, I read the script thoroughly. I will just look at it again and again, and you look at the different things that are said about the characters, and Frederick Knott does an amazing job giving you details, both in action, but also in dialogue. And looking at Mike Tellman's story and developing it, I think there's a lot that you can extrapolate from what's just happening in the play. And then you can also just determine his life's course just from how he's reacting to things and what he says. So to me, it's just a lot of fun to dive into that. Even within the course of the play, you can see Mike is beginning to covet what Sam has. Not just Susie, but just the life he had.
Right.
Sure.
So that was something I wanted to convey.
Did you play the same role? You said you were in the show before. Did you play the same role? Was it a different role?
Well, talking about Mike coveting, I played Sam Hendricks previously. So.
Oh, okay. Nice. Very nice.
Full circle or reverse circle.
Right. And I would say, so asking kind of the same question. So for Gianna and Noel, right? So Gloria is kind of she has an arc a little bit as well.
Sure.
She's definitely a sympathetic character. She's kind of not quite the heroine, but if 5 minutes earlier would have been the heroine by no fault of her own. So this is a show, most kids your age tend to be in shows that are kids shows, right? So you are in a show that's an adult show. So what made you want to audition for it? And like have like how what has your experience been so far? Like I'm very curious to know. By the way, I would like to also point out that the young adults have been like, man, they're like off book right away.
Yep.
They don't miss cues. Like
These damn kids.
you guys, like you've got it in the bag. Like you definitely have it in the bag. But what made you be interested in not just in a show with adults, but being in a show that is actually a little bit could be perceived as scary?
Who wants to go first? Raise a hand.
Pick a number from 1 to 10.
We can do alphabetically, so we'll start with Gianna.
Okay. For me, I think just the fact that it was a play. I'd never done a play before. And of course, not even like a drama show that was this heavy or like a plot that was this heavy. So that was what kind of brought me to want to audition. And it's been an amazing experience. I've learned so much. And most of the shows I've done before have just been kind of light, fun, kid shows.
It'll come out.
Well, that is true. So Gianna, I was saying even earlier before we started recording, she was Annie, she was Matilda, which actually are, while there's kids in the show, they're still, you're in a cast with adults.
Yeah.
And I've heard from other kids that kids tend to like and prefer to be in shows with adults because they learn so much more, right? And it's kind of like once you start doing that, you almost can't go back. Is that true?
Yeah, it's definitely true. Well, when you're starting out with like junior shows are a better option because you get to work with people your age, and when you're more experienced, working with adults is just so much better. You learn, it's a more advanced and professional experience.
See that, you guys are professional.
Yeah, and it's tough. So a lot of us are parents. I have 3 daughters, so it's tough dialing down the adult when younger adults are around because obviously we can't just, and we shouldn't be anyway, but I mean we can't just drop F-bombs or curse or do whatever, and it's different. These, and I try not to call you kids, but I mean I have kids, so I say kids. But just like anything that has happened during this whole entire rehearsal process, you've just rolled with every single punch, both of you, and I've gotten to see both of you now finally as Gloria. And I only get to work with you for like 3 seconds, and literally you pushed me out of the way both times, both of you, so it's fantastic. But yeah, you guys in the beginning of the show, I'll tell anybody out in the audience right now, in the beginning of the show, you're going to wonder why Rote didn't like throw her out the window. So, but by the end of the show, it's a completely different feel. So again, another big character arc for, for Gloria, in that even Susie's attitude towards her is completely, it's changed. It's night and day. And we really see that come through at the end. But yeah, I mean, I cannot say enough about Noelle and Gianna, both. So
so Noelle, you've done a lot of stuff with Rhino.
I have.
You have done a ton with Rhino. I've actually I've seen you, as we spoke before. I've seen you in Frozen when I've managed the studio for that weekend of shows. And I feel like you've done, like, you're kind of a mainstay. What was the first show? Is this the first adult show that you've done?
This is not the first adult
Okay.
show I've done. The first one I did was Annie, just as an orphan. The second one I did was Morlocks with Randy.
Right, right, right.
And this is my third official one. It's very
Okay.
exciting.
So you kind of had with doing Witches and Warlocks, you've already had like a peek into like more scarier contacts, darker,
Yeah.
darker
Mhm.
because that one was dark too. It's creepy. I mean, um, and you were also you were the only, there was only one other younger child that was in that show, and he was really he was just kind of a like physically there. He didn't have lines or anything like that. Now when you did you want like what was your process of like being interested in this show? Like do you kind of keep looking to see what shows are coming up and see if there's like an opportunity for you? What attracted you to Wait Until Dark?
I haven't done an adult show in a long time. At that point, it was a year, and it came up as like a audition recommendation from like the Rhino website. So I was like,
Okay.
yeah, sure, I'll give it a shot. And then yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Do you want to go take care of him?
What am I going to do?
I
He's
don't
just going to keep meowing. He hears me.
So, Randy,
Yes.
working with the girls, Noelle and Gianna, so you've obviously done shows with kids before. The subject content of this is just, I mean, again, it's so intense. I mean, I'm scared of Mark. Literally, like, he freaks me out.
You're scared of him.
I know, and Gina's the one that gets killed by him. But how do you approach that as a director? Because like I've seen, and there goes my camera went on my phone again. Oh my God. Ugh. So I've talked to a lot of different people that have worked in the horror movie industry. I've had interviews with people that were children in, the horror movie, industry as well, and are now adults. And one of the biggest things that I've gotten from them is that they weren't coddled. And I think that's kind of what you do with the girls. You expect the same out of them that you would of anybody else. You're not.
I treat everybody this. I've always been that way.
Right.
Teaching adults, teaching kids, I treat them the same way.
Because they're equals.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the big things. I've worked with other theater companies, and I've worked with a lot of children in literally 50% children casts. And I'll tell you what, I love pretty much everybody that I worked with in those casts, children wise. I had a lot of fun with the kids, and watching them grow as performers on stage, and now even seeing them in the future as they've grown up and what they're becoming. It's been a treat. But I cannot again say enough about the professionalism of the two that you're looking at on your screen right now, because
Absolutely.
the maturity is something that I really don't see as much as I do with these two. I mean, it's just
Work ethic.
right. I remember saying, so during this whole process, right when we started, I hurt my knee at work. I've been out of work for the past 3 months. And, I was recovering from surgery. And I have to say, and you also said stuff too, Gianna, but like the first time that I came back to rehearsal, Noelle was like, how are you? How was your surgery? Are you okay? And I was like, kids don't do this. But she was, and I remember I talked to your mother and I was like, you've raised an amazing daughter. And then, I've said the same thing to your mom, Gianna, about you. It's different working with kids in a non-kid show, if that makes any sense. So like I've done big Billy Elliot, I had to work with kids, lots of kids, and this is completely different because this is not a kid show. This is an adult show that happens to have children in it. Like even when you were in Annie, it's still a kid show. I mean, it's an adult show, but it's a kid show. I mean,
Right.
I always look at Annie as a kid show because there's multiple kids. There's lots of kids, lots of orphans running around.
Well, and also children will go see it.
Yes.
So I don't anticipate a lot of young people coming to see this show. just because it could potentially be too scary
Yeah.
for them.
But I think a lot of the kids nowadays would get a kick out of it.
that
And
is true. Yeah.
instead of seeing maybe just somebody else's version of it, they might be bored with it.
Right.
Except for those few times where there's
Agreed.
It's
know.
not.
Agreed.
It's funny because it's an adult show because of the adult themes. But like there's talk about drugs.
Sexual innuendo.
Sexual innuendo, but even that is not, I mean, all of it together really is like, to me, minimal because of everything else that's going on.
Right.
So you still have a fleshy story. And I think that's a credit to the writer as well, is that you still
Sure.
have the meat and potatoes of the story without just saying, okay, heroin, F, 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 S, 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 whatever, cursing and sexual innuendos all the time. You don't have that. So I kind of agree with you, Randy, that there's probably like a PG-13
Sure.
element to this. I'll say PG-13
Right.
might just be PG, but I mean it just depends on I mean, because even as an adult and knowing what my kids have seen, these young adults today, they see a hell of a lot more than we think they do.
They certainly do.
True.
And I
in
think
some
that,
ways this is tame. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and because of when it was written, right? So even though it has adult themes, it's still very classy. It's and that's kind of what I love about it. Like it's still very, very classy. Like even the character of Lisa, like she's a drug runner, but she's classy in my head. I feel that she's very classy.
All the drugs that Gina runs.
All the drugs that I run. Yes.
So
should
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, so should we get to the
Well,
biggest?
no, I have one more question for them.
Okay.
For the girls. So I'll start with you, Noelle, because you're on top of Gianna there on my screen. So what has been the biggest challenge for you, and what has been the most rewarding thing for you during this whole experience?
Definitely the biggest challenge is in our first scene. We are very mean and we have to throw things. That was not easy. But towards the end of this process coming now, it's definitely gotten easier. So like not messing up lines, to be able to go through that scene just straight through without stopping, is being like, I did it. So
nice.
I love that.
That's a perfect answer. That's a perfect answer. So Gianna.
Just like Noelle said, the throwing scene is very intense, but all the blocking is very specific, and it, like, if you mess up one move, it could change the whole story. It can change how the show proceeds. So I think that has been a big struggle. But then at the end and opening night, it's all coming together, and it's already coming together really well right now. So it's really rewarding to be able to see what all our hard work and memorization and practice has, what it's become of them.
And I watch, as I watch that, I watch Randy shaking his head. Yep, you're damn right, kid. If you do one wrong move, that could throw the whole scene off. No, I'm kidding. Randy has been, and I'm sure there's times where Randy wanted to like inject himself into your scene, throw you out of the scene, and just throw the things himself, because he was like so frustrated with us. But I say that jokingly, Randy.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever become frustrated.
No.
I expect too much from people. I think, that's what I've been told. I expect like 150%. And I think it's because of what I do at home. I get so into it. I've always been that way. So I try to spill that out onto other people.
Right.
And a show like this, not that I purposely do it, but I create tension that kind of angers people, and it brings out what I need from them.
Nice.
Because every character at one point is, kind of pissed.
Yeah.
Maybe yours the least, Rob, but still, you're very you're very forceful with Susie, and you're like, yeah, you're going to be the best blind woman in the world.
Yep.
But getting back to the two kids, I'm very blessed, and it's unusual that I've got two, because a lot of the kids nowadays are very, very difficult to work with. You know, no offense to anybody, but I don't think, you know, I've ever seen a phone in their hands,
Nope.
you know, and it's just a pleasure. Maybe I'm teaching too many high schools, but it's a job for me just to get the phones out of their hands.
Mhm.
And I
I
just
would
feel lucky. The entire cast, I feel lucky with all of you, but especially the two young girls.
Yeah,
If
I
that's
would
a,
venture to say that I think some adults could take some lessons from the two of them.
yeah. And getting back to the subject matter and the kids, I just don't emphasize anything. You know, yeah, we're talking about heroin, but you don't have to emphasize it and point it out to them.
Right.
Yeah, Road is running across the room and stabbing somebody. It just happens and they're seeing it.
Yeah.
But if you make something of it, then it may affect them. But
Mhm.
I
I
don't
mean, you
think
turn on the news and like Russia's invading the Ukraine and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the news is
Yeah.
just as bad, if not worse. You know,
Yes.
things are burning down. You watch a fire and you're like, oh my God, you know, it's just miserable news. So yeah, I mean, the things that they're seeing every single day, I would challenge to say that, you know, we're basically doing, you know, Beauty and
Right.
the Beast. You
And I
know,
sincerely hope that the
Which has a dark
actors
side.
yeah.
are enjoying, I mean, and get the same kick out of what the audience is going to see. And I'm hoping it's a different experience for everybody. You know, having, you know, you're doing this scene and all of a sudden there's lightning and all of a sudden this music comes out of nowhere. And I'm hoping it's a gas for everybody,
And,
you know,
and,
because, and last night was the first time that I was really like, oh my God, this is going to work.
Yeah.
So I'm just
Oh,
very
that
excited.
and I mean, like, I'll get raw for a second for me. You know, I was dealing with a lot of stuff over the past couple months with the surgery, recovery, being out of work, my father being in a nursing home, and then being, you know, I mean, it looks like he's going to be there forever. So, I mean, there's been a lot of challenges that normally acting is able to take me away. And it didn't do that this time, and not because of anything in the show, but just me personally. It was like I just wasn't clicking with myself. And over the past week, I've kind of, you know, told myself, you know, listen, pull up your big boy pants and do this, because it was absolutely embarrassing for me to go out into a scene and still be on book when everybody else was pretty much off book. People that have 30,000 times the lines that I have, and watching them do it. And it was almost, so it embarrassed me. I was embarrassed for myself. So I buckled down as much as I could, tried to focus out the negative stuff that was going on and is still going on, and just really try to throw myself more into it. And, you know, it's been really tough on me. I'm not going to lie. But now that I feel, when I'm in that room that you see behind me, when I'm in that room and I'm at my studio, and, you know, I know the space a little bit better now, because when we were rehearsing this show, we were in a bigger studio, I guess I'll say.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like I had to like take a walk across the room to get to Susie. Whereas like here, I turn around from my photo studio and I'm in the kitchen. And I'm like, oh wait, okay, so I have to cut down steps. So, you know, and not, and I'll say this to any actor that's out there and listening, is that read the damn script, learn your lines as soon as you can, because it just, and I know that because I've been in so many different things. You know, I've done plays before, and I don't know why I've had so much trouble with this particular one scene that I had, but it is what it is. You don't make excuses. You pull up your big boy pants and you know, or big girl pants, and you go and you do. But Randy, you never, well, maybe once, maybe once, but you never pulled me to the side and said, dude, you know, come on, let's go. You've said things
You should have.
and you probably should have, but you've said things as a whole. And I was like,
General comment for everybody.
He's talking about me. And
But you don't know that.
right.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So, but I needed that. So I needed to go home and be driving down the road and be like, Gina, I was so angry with myself because I was embarrassed for myself. And I don't if there's one thing I don't like being, it's embarrassed, period. I
Sure.
do not like, I mean, nobody says, hey, I love being embarrassed. But it is what it is. And it made me say, okay, enough, let's go. You're only in these two things, but it's going to be that much better if you just get it done. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I want to ask Barnett. So we worked with Barnett
Yep.
before ourselves. Barnett, what drew you to this show? Were you familiar with the movie? Do you have some kind of connection to it? Because I know that you're someone who you do theater sometimes, but not all the times. So what was it about this show that brought you out?
Oh, you're muted.
Wait, hold on.
Can you
There,
hear?
yeah, there you are.
Yeah, I actually wasn't familiar with the play to begin with. I just saw the audition and the advertised, and I read the synopsis, so it seemed interesting. So I just went for it. I am familiar with one of Frederick Knott's other plays, Dial M for Murder.
Dial M for Murder. Okay.
Which I saw the movie for years ago, and when this show started to ramp up, I looked up the movie online and saw it, and so having watched it, everything came together initially. Having seen other people perform it and relating it to what I see here, doing it among us.
So as a fellow person who has just a tiny part, right? So you're in the opening sequence, and then you're one of the police officers. A lot of time, we're called like extras, so to speak. Although I, do have a named part.
Well, I hate that word.
I know, but it's kind of like they kind of flesh out, people who do these smaller roles truly flesh out a show, and they make it so dynamic. And it's so important to have people who are, committed and good. I know Ashley wanted to be here. She's also another person who, found this as an opportunity, who she used to do theater, and she's trying to get back involved in theater. And it was a great opportunity for her to kind of, dip her toe in it a little bit and kind of like get reacquainted to the theater world. I mean, for myself, so I haven't been on stage in 25, 26, my senior year of high school, the last time I was on stage.
Almost 30 years.
And we don't want to talk about that. And Rob has wanted, so we've done shows together in some capacity, but I've never been on stage with him.
Sure.
And he has so desperately wanted to be in a show together. And I've always said that when I go back to being on stage, I don't want it to be in a show with him. And the reason being is I wanted to have like my own coming, like my moments, right? Because Rob always has his moments. But I do kind of feel with this show, like I do kind of get to have my moment, because I don't think I'm on stage for more than 5 minutes, but it is an intense, wonderful, excruciating, physically exhausting, but fun 5 minutes. Like, going into like, I've kind of newly been acquainted with the world of horror. And I know kills are a very important thing. Oh, I love, my favorite kill is from Friday the 13th part, whatever. I don't even know. Michael's kill, everybody loved the drone and, the backfire, in Halloween Kills by the car.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone talks about the kills, and, you see those things that go around on social media, for, actors, like, how many times have you done this on stage, or have you ever? And one of them always is, have you died? Have you been killed? And I kind of come back and I get to say, like, in these 5 minutes, I get to be murdered twice. And that's not something that most people get to do. And it's so much fun. Rob's been having a hard time. He can't watch it.
I can't. I literally cannot. I cannot.
We just found out last night that it really bothers him
Yeah.
seeing me, acting being murdered. But it's all fake.
Which is weird.
It is weird.
And I have to say that I respect the hell out of Mark for being able to deftly, is that the right word? Yeah, deftly handle the scene as well as you do. And it's this dance between both of you. And it's very tough for me to watch something like that happen to her on stage. I love the fact that she's in the show completely. When she was asked to do it, I was so pleased. She's been since 2015 when I got back on stage. So for 7 years, she's been like my left hand, my right hand. She's been behind me every single moment, and supported me, right, wrong, indifferent. I mean, she's just always been there. She's been my biggest champion. And part of it sucks because I can't stand there and be like, yay, go you get murdered or whatever. So that part of it's tough, but just watching her and seeing the same girl that I remember from back in high school, up on stage, just older, but more beautiful. But seeing that girl that was there, it's been a blessing. I mean, it really has. It's been a lot of fun.
So I have to say the irony is when Rhino Theater did The Little Mermaid a few years ago, which is my absolute most favorite Disney movie of all time. Little Mermaid is my jam. Sebastian's my guy. I remember joking with Joanna and Carmela and Rich Lavallo, who was the musical director and the director. And I was just like, could I just be a starfish that hangs on the wall? This way I can be part of it, but I can just hang. And I was joking. I was like, I'm small enough. I really can just hang through the entire show. I can be live, decor, if you will. And, sure enough, here I am hanging in a closet, and which is a very, very different content. I am not a starfish. But yeah, it's kind of an interesting way to come back. But it is nice. It's small. I love that I was off book from the beginning. But it's but it's a small taste, and I have to thank Dave, Mark, and Nat, because you guys have been really very gracious in your handling of me, your physical handling of me. I truly appreciate it, and I really do trust you guys 100%. I know, Nat, you're literally carrying the weight of it, truly carrying the weight of it. But if there was ever, people to be handled by and be murdered by you guys, I'm so excited that it's you guys, because it's really, really been fun. But I think now we have to get to the big badass.
Yeah. So in all that we were talking about there, and not being able to watch Gina get killed on stage, I remember from the first read through, way back in October, November, whenever it was, and just being amazed by Mark. Mm-hmm. And just his delivery of the lines. I'm like, who the hell is this guy, man? I'm like, this guy, he just has that, even not seeing you move, just the vocal strength, and the just the way that you were able to twist the words and just make them come out of your mouth. And it's as a fellow actor, that's what I love to see, because I do love, in any show that I've ever been a part of, watching how everything comes about and watching how everybody approaches things. And you were just like, boom, you were just out, and you were there. You were wrote. I think before you sat down and opened up the script, you knew you were just him. So, but you are, I say, creepy AF. Oh my God. You are just,
yes.
I love you to death.
It's amazing.
You're a creepy SOB, man. You are just, whoa.
Which is so opposite of the person that you are. You don't give off any of those vibes. You're really one of the nicest human beings. And so is this how did you find this show? Did you have you always been a fan of the movie? Were you seeking out this kind of part? Do you typically do these kinds of roles? Tell us.
Well, I mean, it's really Randy. Randy and I worked together
Okay.
a few years ago. We did Cinderella, and it was a children's production, and I was the foppish King Darling the Third, and I mean, it is absolutely the complete opposite of anything that this is, and
Yeah.
and so, Randy asked me if I would, consider auditioning, and and it's funny because I was so happy that he asked me, because I just, to think that he would have thought of me in this way just meant so much to me. To have seen me be one thing that was so different, and then to be able to imagine that I could even possibly do this was just mind-blowing to me. So when he asked me if I'd be interested in auditioning, I remembered the movie from being a kid, and and I went and I rented it, and then I went to the library and I took it out, and I just I watched it, and I just kept thinking, this is such a great role. And so I did, but I just think it's I'm really here because I think Randy saw something in me that I don't want to say I don't know that I would have seen myself, but that I don't think others would have seen in me.
Yeah, I mean, if I had worked with you and just known you from before in a normal, like, everyday run-of-the-mill show, like if I was in Cinderella with you, I would have been like, yeah, dude, he can't do this guy. Oh my God. Yeah, it's
really just because you're such a
Right.
nice person that you don't give off any of those vibes. So yeah.
and it's like there's no character arc for you, but you don't need one.
No.
You are that machine, that Jason Voorhees, that Michael Myers, that is just going to kill until you get what you want, and you're gonna do whatever it takes to get what you're after, which in this case is the doll, which really isn't the doll, it's the heroine that's in the doll. So watching you be that person has just been, again, and I told you this from like one of the first times that we were working, that you were just creepy, just absolutely mind-boggling.
Have you ever killed someone on stage before?
In real life.
In
No,
real
no.
life, yeah.
No,
So it's funny because I did Stephen Sondheim wrote his only non-musical, and it's God, what's the name of it? Something about murder. And so it was this show that I did a number of years ago, where I was also kind of this psychopath murderer.
Okay.
And it's funny because when the director met my wife and kids, they were like, "Oh, were you so surprised that your father could do this?" And when my daughter said, she was like, "No, but now we know that he can burn the house down too." So so I don't know, I'm expecting them not to be surprised at all, but yeah, so no, I have. And I think, to prepare for this, one of the things that I did was I really wanted to make sure that I watched, the first thing that I did was I watched Taxi Driver, because I really wanted to get into, that kind of mindset of someone like that character, Travis. But I also, while I was watching Taxi Driver, the Harvey Keitel character just really stuck out to me. And I kept thinking, so when I kind of started to really envision this, it was more based on kind of that Harvey Keitel character with a mix of the Travis character from Taxi Driver. And then I also I wanted to start really looking at that completely psychotic, serial killer, etc. So I watched American Psycho, which I had seen before,
Great
and
movie.
then I
Great
also
movie.
yeah, and then I saw this really super movie called Creep 2, which so there's Creep and then there's Creep 2.
Okay.
And Creep 2 is just this crazy, like kind of horror story, but it's more of a psychological character study of this serial killer. So just watching that too, I really wanted to understand the mind of a serial killer. And then I think, I have to say, I feel like Randy, and I use this word in a really good way, Randy pushes me to find things that I don't think I would have found organically. So I honestly feel like everything up there is almost as if like Randy's the puppet master, and he's formed him and he's created him, and I just get to be this lucky vessel. So I don't, I honestly really I think that Randy has colored this character so much more than I could have ever.
Now, we've been listening to Mark talk for the past, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes or so. So you know what Mark sounds like. Everybody knows what Mark sounds like now. What I want you to do real quick, and you can pull any line that's creepy out of the show. Give me something that Rote would say in the show, and do it as Rote.
I don't know if I can really do that.
Oh, you can.
You can take a moment. Don't feel
Yeah, don't
pressure.
There's editing.
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Again,
It's
this
funny
is why
because
we
all I
don't
can
do
think of
live.
is like Harry Roach Sr. right now.
Well,
I don't know.
while you're thinking of that,
Mhm.
and I don't want to give anything away, but in the last scene when you use her cane and hook, ooh,
There's a line.
it's so chilling. It's so chilling.
This is the line that I want to hear, about somebody always forgetting something. There's everybody always forgets something.
That's like, he knows what it is.
That's like, I'll say the line. I just want to hear that voice. You can say anything in that voice.
Sorry, I just put him on pause. It's so funny. I feel like I can't do that because I'm not in character.
You
Isn't
don't
that
have the jacket
crazy?
on. You don't have the
I just
jacket.
honestly, I feel like
Doesn't have the wife
yeah,
beater and yeah.
There
yeah.
is something
I
to be said
just,
about that.
See, now
Yeah.
all you people will have to come out and see the show.
you'll have to come see
Just
it.
to
Yeah.
see him do that voice, because I'm going to hear that voice probably for the next 50 years. Like,
It's funny, but his speaking voice is one of the things that made me think of him.
Mhm.
Because, like we said, we did a children's show. Cinderella.
Right.
There's nothing scary about that, except some of the cast members. But anyway, but it was his voice and his, extremely handsome. I was looking for somebody that's good looking that could be psychotic at the same time, and his work ethics.
Yeah.
I mean, in a kid's show, but I read that from him because there was so many actors in that show. No offense to anybody, that would they didn't care. And I just read this from Mark, that I knew that if he could do it and work it into his life, he would be amazing. And so far I'm right.
Yep. Just
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
And again, the totality of the three guys, of the three thugs, the three non-youths, but the three guys, and David's another one. So David, we're gonna break into you for a second. You're another one with a voice that just it sticks with you.
Yeah.
There's something in this delivery that you have that, like, it's funny when I said about Mark, his voice as Rote is different than his voice as Mark. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's not even an accent thing. It's like a delivery.
Oh no, he's like a different person.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I hear traces of
Yeah.
David in your character in
Mhm.
Carlino. So, but it's just this, you turn into this completely other, like aloof character. Like you're here to murder somebody and you're worried about where the damn mustard is and how many cold cuts you can
So-
shove down your gullet.
He's like the Joey
Yeah.
of the cast.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
got to get his sandwich. And I appreciate that. And your
He's
love
got like a one-track mind.
of
And
the
I-
salty cured meats.
There you go. You're the full Tribbiani.
There you go.
But yeah,
and I think you are. I mean, you're supposed to be a little bit of a Goomba, and I can say that because
Yeah.
I am one. I am of that world. And yeah, like if there's a sandwich to be had, I mean, and it makes sense because you haven't eaten anything, and they kind of set that up. But you're there. If you're gonna take money, why not take the sandwich?
Uh-huh.
Right?
That would be me.
Always
Well,
eating.
Yeah, and that's it. And I kind of feel like I wouldn't say he's comic relief, but like he's definitely the yin to the yang for Mike.
Right.
Just trying to, I don't know if he thinks that like he's in charge, Mike's in charge. It's kind of weird dynamic, but you definitely get like, he's been around longer, maybe probably a little bit more streetwise. I don't know. But definitely clueless every place else.
It's funny because when you walk in, you're wearing that skull cap. And I think Smee from Peter Pan, Captain Hook's right-hand man. Yeah, that's what I see. I just see Smee. And again, it's like you could add that, that sound effect that at so many different points, but again with the genuinity the genuineness.
That's not a word.
I know, I just made up word, but the genuineness. I can't get the word out. You make the character genuine. You bring that to the stage, and again, all three of you, and I think you're all part of the same like monster, really. And it's just different facets, to that monster. But then you start to like break away, like certain things you start to get revealed. And again, I think you all have, except for Rote, I think you all have this like these arcs, these little storylines. I mean, Rote again is just, and I think that's how he's supposed to be, is just that cold-blooded, I'm going to take and destroy everything in my path. If you get in my way, you're done. You're just going to be, you're done.
Well, and it's like you said before, so he's more paralleled to an actual horror film character. They're at least with this as a why, but it's just kind of you're robotic in your methods and you have no remorse,
right?
Zero remorse. Whereas with Mike, we see that remorse, we see that concern. And I love that even, Susie is concerned. And if I were to ever have the opportunity to remake this movie in 2022, I think at the end, like Susie is perfect, except at the end, she would kind of give the middle finger to Sam and be like, I don't need you. I'm going off on my own. But because she really is quite a heroine, even though she's kind of still under this weird dynamic of, marriage and her husband making her, that end scene, like when you make her come to you instead of going to her, kind of really still gets me.
That was a director's choice.
No, I know, and it's right for the character.
Yes.
But
and that's been a weird thing for me, because
last night you crossed to her a little bit, and I like it.
A little, yes, I did.
Yeah.
First of all, the couch is sort of like in a different position. So like me falling over to the couch doesn't work as well, which was something that I did on my own anyway from the beginning. But my character, I mean, obviously only being in the very beginning and the very end, there's not really there's not like an arc type thing. So
No.
you work with words. So when you look at that script and you see, oh, okay, well, you know, I'll read it this way. And then if the director doesn't like it this way, then he'll tell me I don't like it this way or whatever. And Randy never said that. He more said, or Randy, you more said, you know, put more emphasis on this or more emphasis on this because we kind of want you to be like a douchebag. And it's funny because as I've gone through that, yes, that's how I played it, but I leave those moments open and those looks open. I try to, for like a tenderness, like, hey, you know what? You're newly blind, Susie. And while I expect more out of you, I still like love you dearly. You know, you're my wife. I don't, you know, hate you or whatever. I'm
you're
not
doing it for the better of
right.
her. Like
Exactly.
you're trying to better her, and it's kind
And
of
your background, the military background comes
Yes.
out
Right.
Yep.
in
Right.
your everyday life,
Yeah.
in your relationship with her. But by the end, just your franticness and concern with your lines and running around the apartment looking for her
Yeah.
tells the audience that he really does.
Yeah.
Yes,
love
you
her.
definitely do feel the love. But I you know, it's a credit to, I mean, think about that. This woman has been blind for a year. So she has lived her life with sight, has been blind for a year, which is traumatic in and of itself from an accident, goes through this ordeal, and she came out on top, which is, I mean, granted, took care of the other thugs, but she got the major guy, which is really kind of a moment of, you know, a little bit of a you know, feminine moment, if you will. And interesting that it was from back in 1967. And I do, well, 66 from the play, but I do love that Audrey Hepburn played that role because she was kind of, you know, all of the roles that she played, you know, very dynamic, but, you know, physically was such
Different.
a small woman. You know, she was a ballet dancer by trade, really. And me being a huge Audrey fan, I actually had never seen the film because it wasn't necessarily in her traditional wheelhouse. We only just watched it
Mhm.
recently.
Yep.
And you know, she's perfection in every way. And NJ truly has an Audrey vibe going for her. She's amazing. And I know you're going to interview her separately,
I
but
am.
she's,
No, Gloria.
yes. No, MJ.
That's right. She's not here tonight.
She's not here tonight. But yeah, she definitely, because anything with Audrey Hepburn, there's always that grace and that class that comes with a classically trained ballerina, and it comes through in the movie and it comes through in the part. And I think NJ really has pulled through on that as well.
That's it. Another strong actor in what we're doing. And just the scene that I have with her, and it's very, very hard playing off of someone that you can't, like, you don't make eye contact with,
Yeah,
because she's blind, so she's really not looking at me. She's like looking to the side of me, and it's hard enough as you're learning your lines and things like that. It's hard enough to do it, but then when you have like, no, you're sitting there and you're like, hello, but she's not looking at you because she's looking, you know, and we've talked about, she'll either look here or she'll look here, which is an old acting trick to look here, but it's just different, playing off a person that is doing that on stage. And it's another one of the reasons that everybody that's on your screen right now that has to interact with NJ and just realize the professional that she is, and the way that she's just taken this role and just she's done incredible things with it. So again, and that goes down to the guy on he's on the bottom of my screen.
yeah.
That goes back to Randy and knowing, you know, having a vision, executing the vision, and there you know, there's always stumbles along the way, but just doing everything that you've done, and yet treating us with respect, and just treating us great. It's
Well, going just back one real quick
Mhm.
moment to NJ too. She's also as beautiful as Audrey Hepburn, which is quite lovely too. Because I think that adds to the like perceived victimization, right? So she's this
Sure.
beautiful creature who is already compromised, and you guys are all just awful men trying to take advantage of her. Although I have to say, in general, it's a very good looking cast, right?
Yeah.
Right. Very good looking cast, but she really is just beautiful and graceful, and carries a lot of the show on her shoulders. And I don't know, I can't wait to see what when you guys talk, like how hard it must be to be acting and not reacting, but reacting. Like that just kind of like blows my mind as far as the complexity of portraying someone who is blind.
Just reacting to sounds.
Yeah.
difficult.
I know for sure I would never be able to do that.
And
in
it's
a
funny
million
because
years.
as I've watched her, especially in the scene that we're in, and I think everybody here will probably say the same thing, but watching her navigate her way as a blind woman who's not blind.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
if
crazy.
you have sight, your brain, I don't care how good of an actor you are, your brain is going to tell you, okay, look at the thing, because otherwise you're going to walk into the thing. But then your actor brain is like, well, I need to walk into the thing, so I have to walk into the thing. So it's and then on the opposite side of that, you're sitting there and you're like, why aren't you reacting to me in your head? And but it's because they can't react to you, and like your final scene there, Mark, with her, it just, Jesus,
So
Mary,
intense.
Joseph. But yeah, it's everybody top to bottom, 100%, absolutely incredible. I'm gonna speak for myself on behalf of Dockside, but I'll tell you what, any one of you guys wants to come and audition for anything that we do, feel free, go ahead. Go ahead, Barnett. I mean,
we'll be asking you, I'm
right,
sure,
right.
but
And it's funny because Barnett, I've known Barnett since 2016, 17. When was the first one act that we did?
2000, I think 17.
16, I think.
16,
Was it
because
16?
17 was Press for 2 Pages, which I won. Thank you.
Yes, that's right. That's
Um,
right. So Crime and Punishment was
Yep.
August of 2016. Yeah.
So we took a show that was written,
It's terrible.
it was written it was written
I
by
shouldn't say that. Edit that out.
an Asian gentleman. There were some language barrier things.
English wasn't the first language, so
right.
there were some challenges.
Story was great. We had two people in it. It was a one act. We had a seasoned actor that had been up and down and sideways. He'd been everything on the planet with us, and who became a really good friend. And then we had Barnett, who was brand new to the stage.
Mhm.
Brand new.
Well, brand new to the stage as far as acting.
Right, as far as acting.
Yes.
So
he's an accomplished musician.
He comes in and he just, wants to do the thing. And we did the thing. And
He did the thing.
we did the thing. We did the show. And again, no offense to Alpha. It was challenging. It was very challenging. Gina and I, as directors, we did the best we could with what we had. But I told Barnett at the end of that show, I said, because I was so proud of where he had grown as that actor for the first time being on stage and getting past nerves and, challenges and all those things. And Gina and I both told him he'll always have a home. Whatever we do, there'll always be something. So when I wrote Press Between Pages, the one act, the following year, I made sure that there was some place where I could like put a Barnett. It's almost like
Barnett.
Right. It's like pick up a Barnett and put him down here. Okay, Barnett, you're gonna do this thing. You're gonna be this guy. Okay. And he just adapts. He's a damn chameleon, and again, he sits there the entire time and he watches the show. And you know what? That's a very difficult thing to do. It really is. And I've had challenges with it myself, being in that opening scene and then being like, okay, see you later. I don't even pop my head in a window at any point. So that's a challenging thing, go down, sit in the green room and wait and hope you don't miss your cue and lose your pants, or you can't find your costume, whatever. But Barnett does that, and again, that's a credit to Barnett, and I'm so proud of you, man. Though the distance
Thanks.
that you've come from where you are. So Barnett, the rocket scientist and a pilot. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things people don't know about Barnett. So
The man of mystery.
yeah, Barnett, the man of mystery.
That is true.
The man of mystery. But yeah, I'm glad to count him among my friends, and all of you guys. It's been a ride, and this is kind of our last like hurrah, where we can like just kind of.
There was no breathing.
And
next week
Randy,
at all.
Randy is still able to smile, like he's able to just be like, okay. But Sunday afternoon, when we walk in that room, and not to put too fine a point on it, like balls to the wall, let's go, and kick the tires and light the fires. And
It's go time.
Tech Week is called Hell Week for a reason. And it's really not Tech Week for us, because you know what? We've had the tech now since day one. So it's sort of like it's just Hell Week.
It's light week.
It's light
and costume
it's
week.
light week. It's light week. And it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think the audiences are going to love it. Again, it's playing 2 weeks, a week from tomorrow. And then that whole weekend, and then the following weekend.
Yeah, so it's Friday and Saturday, 8:00, Sundays at 3.
Right. And it's something that I think people are really, really going to enjoy. I think it's different than most of the things that I've seen or been in the black box or the main stage space. It's very non-traditional, so to speak. But yeah, it's gonna be kick-ass.
It's not a Disney show.
Nope. It's not your, it's not
Disney or Sondheim.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not Sondheim. But guys, thank you so much for being here. I really enjoy you. I really enjoy you. I really appreciate you taking the time out to do this. So thank you. Again, the show is Wait Until Dark, February 26th through, I'm going to do that again. The show is Wait Until Dark, and let's see. Here we go. The show is Wait Until Dark, February 26th through March 6th. If you want to see Gina and I on stage, what?
You got the wrong date.
February 25th through March 6th.
You said
25, 26, 27.
Right.
So February 25th, 26th, 27th.
Oh.
And then
4, 5,
March
6.
4th, 5th, and
Okay.
6th.
Yes.
Okay. The show is Wait Until Dark, February 25th, 26th, and 27th. And March 6th, 7th, and 8th. Right?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Right. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Or
11,
2
12,
counts of
13, 14,
16.
15,
I've been living life in 8 count these days.
But it's a show that you don't want to miss. Anybody that wants to see Gina and I together on stage, fans of the show, you know who you are. Come out, see us. We'd love to have you here supporting live theater. It's a very important thing. We've been through a whole hell of a lot over the past 2 years. And it's so good to be back in a space performing again with our friends.
A real show.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And while I loved all the other stuff like we're doing now with Zoom, for me,
And the
I want,
cabarets.
right, and the cabarets, I want Zoom to be for my podcast. That's it. That's the only thing I want it for. I don't want to have to use it to do all these other things that we've been doing. So again, thank you guys. I hope you have a great evening. Thank you all, my guests, all everybody.
Thanks for setting this up. Appreciate it.
No problem at all. I was glad to have you. And I will see you guys very soon. You guys here in the room, but I will also see my audience out there. I'll see you guys very soon. as always, have a great evening. Have a great week ahead.
You
Come
too.
see the show, and I will talk to you soon. And I am out.
See you Sunday.
The Rock and Horror Popcast Show is brought to you by Dockside Productions, recorded in Studio 217 in Opatcong, New Jersey, and mixed through the magic of Audacity. Our theme song is The Flood from the album Brightside by Mike Hers, and can be found on Apple Music and Spotify. Please check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Like, follow, and subscribe to be kept up to date on everything new.